Hello everybody, welcome back to Wolfeei. Today, we're going to be talking about MCC Island, or more so asking the question, what's up with it? What's up with MCC Island? There's been some discourse recently with a tweet that you see on the screen right now, kind of talking about how MCCI has had some performance issues recently, and kind of just, I want to just talk about the MCCI in general, consistently together, grouped with MCC itself, because there's definitely issues. I don't think some of the issues are as big of a deal as some people make it seem, or more so, some people very much lack an understanding of how things work, and I can't blame you for that because unless you're in the industry, you wouldn't know, which kind of makes people have a shifted perspective and opinion on how things go. However, today I want to just talk about it and kind of give my insights on MCC Island in general and kind of how it works alongside MCC, and also kind of get some of my friends' thoughts in there as well from who I've spoken to over the past year plus of playing on the server. Because I think there's a lot of things about MCC Island that are great. They're different, they're unique, they're revolutionary. However, there's some things that are lackluster, and we can talk about that without making it a knocks through fixture stuff type of thing, but more like a, this is my opinion, here's my feedback, this is the best way to give the feedback. All right, and you can give the feedback in the comments too if you want. So, to start off, this post is saying, Crazy Island, a performance level of the server has only managed to get significantly worse despite updates being practically non-existent, lag spikes causing entire games to freeze constantly, games breaking, and the amount of hackers going up. Season 5 coming early 2026 though. So, from my perspective, I'm someone who plays on the server very regularly. I stream on MCC Island usually on a daily basis, and I mean, I like it. It's a fun server. I could be biased, but I like it. It's a overall solid experience. I will say I have noticed performance issues on the server more recently. FPS wise, I've been doing a little bit worse. Lag wise, it's been a little bit worse. But that's mostly it. I think for what I've seen, I have seen games stop functioning. For example, Hole in the Wall, where the walls just stop working, which I think is just a bug that they ended up fixing. But yeah, I've seen some stuff. I haven't seen hackers at all. I mean, maybe I'm playing the wrong games. Maybe they're all playing Sky Battle or To Get to Your Side, because I don't touch those games like ever. But I haven't seen them in BattleBox, Hole in the Wall. Obviously, fishing. Nobody's going to be hacking and fishing. That would be ridiculous. So yeah, on that front, I can only half agree with this. One thing that I do think is interesting, I assume with Season 5, they're talking about the Battle Pass or something, or maybe there's a season in MCC, but I assume it's the Battle Pass season. I have noticed how the Battle Pass was claimed to expire about like half a year ago, and it's still here, which is fine, I guess, or maybe not half a year, like 3 months ago, right, or however long ago it was. It's fine, I guess, give people a chance to, get a Battle Pass. And also, Battle Pass obviously is purely a cosmetic and monetization aspect of the game, or of the server. I don't think it's that big of a deal if, for the players at least, if they can't be monetized, I guess that's not that important. Obviously, for the server itself, it's nice if there is more monetization, but I don't think the players are going to care if they can't spend their money on the server. So yeah, I think that's whatever. That's just, I mean, they've done other things, but I do think that's a little silly that, like, there's no Battle Pass. I'm sure there's a very good reason for it, and we don't know, because one thing that I do think happens a little bit with a lot of these types of events and types of servers, etc., is a lack of communication between the creators and the audience. And sometimes that lack of communication means the audience makes assumptions, and then the creators get frustrated because they're like, they don't know what they're talking about, which is what I do sometimes. I say that. I'm like, you literally don't understand how this works. Why are you giving this feedback? Here, actually, just to try to help you to not give that feedback, here's how it works. And then there you go. So sometimes that helps, but more often than not, you're going to run into a situation where there is a disconnect between the audience and the people making it. And maybe that disconnect is more detrimental than it may need to be, because I feel like in this case, MCC Island has recently had a lot more negativity aimed toward itself. So that's something I just want to talk about as well. But furthermore, let me just go in game, which is if I click this button, there you go. Hello. let's just scroll through this server because I just want to go over every single little bit of this server and kind of just, well, not everything, but kind of get like a bit of a short perspective on everything. So upon spawning in, one of the main things I already talked about is the battle pass. Now, I don't know where specifically you can find the info on the battle pass expiring. It could be in here if it even opens, which I don't think it will. It won't, so that's great. But previously, when you have a battle pass, it says, oh, the battle pass is going to be running for like 90 days, 120 days. I think it's 120 days. And then after that, you get a new one, right? Which, until this one, functioned perfectly fine. But maybe they just have had other priorities, which honestly, good thing. You don't need to focus on a battle pass. Don't make the Fortnite mistake and focus on cosmetics. Make a good server, right? That's important. So that's fine. Next up, because upon spawn, you look to the left, fishing. Wow, I will say, I think fishing is a fantastic addition. There is a thing that is important to talk about, though. I don't think anybody had requested fishing, but I think it was a pleasant and welcomed addition to the server because I think the main audience that was demanding certain type of content is the audience that fishing is not made for. I can kind of, use the talks from what Stefan said on I think he did a little interview with one of the MCC Island players. I think their name is Zach. And from there, Stefan kind of made it clear that, like, in his opinion, one of the main things that's important for the server is a sense of community, a sense of a hub where people can get together. And I think fishing is a really good addition for that. Fishing is a hub where people get together. Something like Fishton's 8, right? Where people hang out and they just go, fish check, fish. You get a bunch of people chatting in there. Perfect. If that's what they want, very good. The majority of the people that are going to be in fishing are not the people who care about whether there's a new Sky Battle map or not. They don't really care. They're there for a whole different reason. And also, it's proven that the amount of players on the server has increased from the existing of fishing. There is just a larger audience of players, so that is another good thing. I will say, from the audience that may want, survival games or something else on the server, maybe Ace Race or Meltdown or whatever, right? I can understand why when you see fishing, you're upset. That's totally valid. I understand. However, you also sometimes need to understand that not every change is going to be catered towards you. Sometimes there are going to be new additions and changes that are made to a server that are catered towards a different audience. Because just like Minecraft events, if I want to appeal to the top players, I add PvP games. But if I want to appeal to the bottom players, I add teamwork games. And that's why you have a balance of both. Because you want to appeal to everybody at least a little bit, but you can't always appeal to everybody at the same time. So that's one important thing that is very important to note. Next up, something that I think is important to talk about is the games. The games on MCC Island are in a interesting spot because it kind of feels stagnant. You're not getting any type of update, and you can't really expect any type of update that's going to make one of these games that already exists significantly more popular, unless there's like a special themed thing with like Sky Battle where you have the water balloon and you get custom cosmetics, right? That could be something. Or maybe you have, I don't really know what else you could have. Hole in the wall, put the MCC scuffed eating food thing in there just for a little bit. I don't know, right? Stuff like that. Maybe to get to the other side, but you add Terra Swoop Force temporarily. Like, that's something that you could maybe do to hype up a game for a little bit. But as of right now, that is not a thing. Now, however, I have talked with some friends, and they have said, and we kind of talked together, where I proposed the idea of disabling and enabling content on the server. Similar to what CubeCraft does sometimes, or maybe used to do, where they would have a game, come into the server and then go away after a little bit of time. I think that could be something that MCCI could look into doing as well to kind of make the audience a little bit more engaged with their server on a timely basis without having to majorly update and majorly overhaul the way the server functions. For example, games that currently are not very popular, Rocket Spleef, Dynaball, to get to their side. And Hole in the Wall has been doing fine recently, but there's 3 games on the server that I think universally are agreed upon to kind of be like more in the background, very rare occasion that they get played type of game modes. Because these game modes just don't have as much interest in them as as the other games do. And I don't think, alright, before anyone says, oh, but they shouldn't remove those games also appeal to different people. That is true. They can't remove all the games, but one thing that is interesting is if you want people to focus on a game, if you want people to flock towards a game, having it temporarily available and temporarily not available will make it more interesting. Have you heard of the McRib? People don't actually like the McRib, but it's hype when the McRib comes in America, in McDonald's, because it's a temporary thing. It's a temporary trend to have a McRib. So maybe MCC could look into doing that, which is a relatively simple thing maybe for them to do. And they could look into maybe temporarily enabling, disabling games, etc. Also, this will help make your player base a little bit more active in specific areas rather than just kind of spread throughout, because that is one other big thing that the audience does not understand, okay? And I'm going back and forth. This is what I was saying. I'm trying to get my thoughts out cohesively. The audience might not understand. However, if MCC added survival games, right, 2 things would happen. Because this is one of the main things that's being requested. So I just wanted to use SG as an example. A new audience of people joins the server. Very good, right? That's what you want. You want to see new people join the server. That is good. You're going to have an audience of players just join the server for survival games. Or at least you assume that's the case, because they could maybe make SG not the best thing, but for the most part it's going to be good enough to get a larger audience of people involved in the server. Second, however, is some of the existing players might also start playing SG. And what then happens is you have a focus, right? A focus of, let's say, 200 new people and 200 existing players going to SG. Cool, SG, 400 active players, fantastic. That game is popping off. Oh my god, no way, SG's doing so well. But where do those people come from? Sky Battle maybe? BattleBox maybe? Suddenly, these games will now have less people actively playing them, and these games will not run as well anymore. So that's one thing that's important, is if new content, especially new content in a similar genre, for example, SG with Sky Battle and BattleBox, it's a PvP game, right? If new content gets added to a server, there needs to be extra thought that goes into it to make sure that it can happen, or that these games can coexist. Not necessarily at the same time, but maybe alternate. For example, SG comes in, cool, Sky Battle out of rotation. Obviously, maybe not the best idea, because Sky Battle is a widely popular game on the server, if not the most popular game on the server, but you get my point. Maybe they need to swap things in and out, and figure out how to create a balance on the server. So that's one thing. Oh, I've said that's one thing. That's another thing that is important to note, is you can't just wildly add something new to the server, because adding something new and that doing well could suddenly kill something else, which I assume fishing may have done as well. I'm sure there's existing MCCI players who've devoted their life to fishing, and instead of fishing, they used to maybe play Dynaball, and maybe Dynaball is now no longer being played because they're all fishing. Yeah, like maybe that's the case. I have no clue. Also, Rockets Belief has a high player count. Shocker. Anyways, I think my point is mainly made, right? The current state of MCCI is okay. It's not bad. It's not great. It's okay. One thing that you also have to keep in mind is, again, like mentioned, Noxtrew has many things on their plate. Noxtrew does MCC, MCC Island, Bedrock maps, and maybe more. That's important to note. And even more importantly, the order of which I assume they make money, which they are a company, they want to make money, is probably number 1, Bedrock. Number 2, this server, maybe. And last, MCC. However, the order in which the audience wants these things to be updated and looked at is number 1, MCC. Or Island. Maybe tied number 1 for MCC and MCC Island. And number 3, Bedrock Maps. So you understand how there's a disconnect? You get it? There's a disconnect. They are not going to be able to appeal to everybody because their priorities are maybe somewhere else. You can't just be like, oh, don't make bedrock maps, blah, blah, blah. We don't want bedrock maps. No, they need to make money. So that's my point made with MCC Island. What's up with MCC Island? It's doing fine. I mean, the demand is higher than the plans, clearly. The expectation is set higher than what was planned for the server, I assume. Maybe there were things that they wanted to do, but I feel like maybe they're planning for something else. I don't know. I mean, there's definitely just a disconnect, and there's definitely other things going on too. You don't know the inner workings of MCC. I don't really know the inner workings of MCC. I know it better than most people because I used to, help them. I used to work not for them, but I was an internal tester, so I got to see a bit behind the curtains. But more often than not, just assume that you are not as aware of what's going on as you may think. That doesn't mean your feedback is invalid, but you gotta understand that sometimes if your feedback doesn't get listened to, it might just not be applicable. Anyways, I've done enough yapping. I need to play Among Us because it's Thursday, so assuming this video goes out while Among Us is going on, come watch me live playing Among Us on stream. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all later. Goodbye.